ask yourself, would you do it again? Let's not and say we did. Spare the ride and spoil the kids.
Is two guys from Albuquerque I know, Alex McMahon and Greg Williams. Alex is the steel guitar player and just kind of Swiss Army knife for the Handsome family. We've done a lot of touring together, and he and I grew to be really, really good friends. And so that song only has me and them on it, no bass. And so those two will play in the Southwest. And then when I go up to the Northwest, I've got any number of people I love to play with. Yeah. And so and that's when I'll get back to, we play to our strengths. You know what I mean? So if it's, sometimes it feels a little more kind of like literally rootsy blues and country. Sometimes it's a little more rock and roll. Other times it's a little more even kind of artsy if you bring an accordion into it, or, you know, depending on who. I've been playing with a guy who plays with bowed bass and fiddle player. And so them together almost puts this little string section by me while I play this big like country gentleman.
Oh man, that thing's gorgeous.
I love it. So that right now is my new favorite kind of combination because they have this like hillbilly string section going on behind me, and it's really it's beautiful.
Yeah.
and quiet, you know, and so it goes back. The long answer to a short question is it's the groups of people, and I tour solo in between.
Okay.
Which has other, you know, its own set of challenges.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Getting a gig, being the main.
So the new album, Cordelia Elsewhere, you funded that through Kickstarter.
For the most part, yeah.
How was your experience with them? I know some of these places are having a tough time. Like Pledge Music has really screwed over a lot of people.
Oh man, it had screwed over a friend of mine. I saw it on Facebook. What?
Yeah,
that was heartbreaking.
It screwed over Failure. I'm going to see Failure in 2 weeks. They're coming in DC, and so I'm going to meet up with Kelly, and he's just like, this. Yeah, this really fucked us. He's like, this is terrible. Because now the thing is, I got the digital copies of all the music, but I paid $20 for an autographed CD, and I don't know if I'm going to get it.
Good news and bad news.
Yeah.
Got your autograph.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is Kelly's put me on the guest list. I'm going to go to the 930 Club in D.C., hopefully meet up with them, and I'll just have them sign one of my old albums.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. It seems like the only ethical level of the music industry are the people who get screwed the hardest.
Yeah, no kidding.
Those are the ones. It's like, of course, those guys are going to make it up to you. You know what I mean? Like any situation I've ever had where it was something took too long or whatever, the artist always makes it right 9 times out of 10 and goes beyond what they even need to do.
Yeah. Where
the higher up you go, it's just like, well, just be prepared to be screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it just falls on the shoulder. It sucks. Well, I had a lot of good mentors doing this. I had a friend who here in Asheville that had just gone through it for like a yoga studio or something. And then another friend of mine used to work for Kickstarter.
Oh, really?
And has done a couple of records on his own. And he was a wealth of just real practical stuff. Just really aim low.
Yeah.
Because I told him basically what I needed. I wasn't trying to get like $35,000 or something like that. You know, it was pretty humble. I figured out what I could beg, borrow, and steal on my own. And then like, where was the shortcomings? Like, okay, this is what I need. And the hardest part was figuring out the rewards.
Oh,
because because I wanted to make it worthwhile, but then I couldn't lose money on that because it defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
like how to get people value for the money, and which was just a nice little crash course in capitalism or commerce in general, like how to give people value for their money and not lose your shirt in the meantime. So there's a lot of stuff that only I could provide, like signed stuff, and which reminds me, I forgot to sign a whole bunch of CDs. Anyway.
Hey, it's a good thing you're doing the show.
Yeah, really, I got some writing to do.
See, I'm doing the same thing. I'm actually considering putting this show out on Patreon, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with Patreon. It works the same as it works similar to Kickstarter for anything, and I've got artwork for a logo that I had made, but I'm trying to figure out, what would somebody pay for to listen to a podcast? It comes out free, but so if I want people to pay, I've got to do bonus. I've got to give them like early access or
notes,
extra
maybe
stuff. Yeah. Or extra, a bonus episode, maybe outtakes from each show, just pare it down the show a little bit, keep some stuff aside, maybe release that as bonus material. But I've also got...
I think it works. Well, sometimes, I don't know if you're like this, it's hard to... Sometimes it'd be hard to ask for money.
It is.
For something you'd be doing anyway. You know what I mean?
I love doing this show.
Then people don't value it as much. I was like, well, I don't want to just elevate prices because I want people to value it more. It's like, I'm not a dick.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking, I actually have a logo for the show that I was really fortunate enough to get made. One of the first people I had on the show was a guy named Mark Dancy. He's an artist. He was in a band in the 90s called Big Chief. But he also, from Detroit.
Oh, Big Chief, yeah.
Yeah, but he also did the artworort for Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger album.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah. So
Great cover.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. But I was also a huge Big Chief fan from the beginning. So I reached out to him because I knew he was an artist, just to have him on the show and talk to him and just see about what he's doing, and because I love his artwork. And after the show, I said, hey, what would you charge to do a logo for me? So he gave me a price. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So now my logo is made by the same guy who did Soundgarden's artwork for Bad Motorfinger. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, I love it. It freaks me out. That's my Chuck D story.
You just have to ask, too.
Yeah.
That album before this one, The Devil in the Blues, John Langford from the Mekons did that.
Oh, cool.
And I'm a huge fan of his art, and I like to have interesting artwork. And I had this idea for me fighting the devil, and then people in the crowd worked on the record, so it's all the musicians and the engineers are in the crowd.
Oh, that's awesome.
and I was like, yeah, but who is going to pull this off? And so I asked, I know John through Freakwater, and just asked him. He does this for a living. It's like, it's X amount. That's how it costs a thing, and then you give me that thing, and I'll do it for you. He's like, oh, well, that was easy.
I know. I was same thing. I was blown away because he gave me this price, and it was like 3 figures. I was like,
yeah,
you sure you're charging me the right price?
It's like, yeah.
So he did some sketches. He emailed them to me, and I kept those. So I've got those. I've got a couple of options of this thing because it's to me it's amazing because I listened to this guy's music. I watched his artwork. His album covers are just amazing to me. And he worked with Soundgarden. So I'm like, and now I've got something from him. So it's just
a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. So you with Kickstarter.
Then you value it because you paid X amount and you love it. So it's just like we're all in the same kind of brain.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to tell you, I did see your video for your Kickstarter campaign, and I do love the white snow boots that you had on for that.
Oh, aren't those sweet?
They are nice.
Yeah. My stepmother sent me those because she's a farmer, and there's like those are just her shoes. Yeah. but she's like from Brazil, stormtrooper and those things. Yeah. I love it. They're sitting right on the front porch now. Every time it starts to rain, I'll put those things on and drive around. That was a fun video to make. Last winter was brutal over here, and cold, but it's kind of picturesque. We are true hillbillies out here. We're in this part of Western North Carolina called Emma. We're basically Asheville.
Okay.
But there's no flat surface anywhere. You have all these kind of like creepy trees. I don't know if you had a chance to see the video for 50-Foot Locust that came out last week. I think it was from the new album, and that was recorded in the front yard, and it's all just like these kind of like just wicked looking trees and stark landscape. It's pretty photogenic out here, even when it's not.
Well, I love it. I'm a photographer myself. I went to college for it and haven't done it. I did it professionally for like 12 years or so, and I've had kids, and that kind of went out the window, and I had to get insurance and all. So
yeah.
So I that's one thing I always like is artwork. I'm always looking for good artwork. It draws me into an album. So
yeah.
But
me too. That's why I like vinyl too, is because I can see it bigger.
Yeah.
It's not that, because on my stereo system, you're not going to hear the difference in vinyl.
Same here.
But I can hold the vinyl. It makes all the difference in the world. So 9 times out of 10, I'll listen to the downloads and go through and hold the record while listening to it. Even if it doesn't have a lot of information, I'll find myself, like with Beggar's Banquet or something by the Stones. There's nothing there. Not for the version that finally made it out. But I'll sit there and just hold it and look at the names of the songs while it's playing.
That's how I found half of the bands that I love, is going through the liner notes on records and CDs, just reading them as the album's playing.
Well, and then so like for me, I've got a new website that's rolling out any day. It's pretty much finished, and I for this one shelled out instead of just doing it by myself, which it only goes so far. Yeah. I had all the lyrics are there with each album, so that you can go by. So I extended the kind of liner notes idea to the website, to where if you were listening to music, I don't do any pop-ups for music. I figure you can put that on somewhere else, on Spotify or something, or listen to the record. But you can go to the website and read the lyrics as they're going by in order.
That's awesome. That's a great idea.
If people bother to, well, I mean, it was Bob Dylan's idea, because whenever I would want to find some Dylan lyrics, I would go to his website because it's easy to navigate. I'm there. I had a bookmark because
oh my gosh, okay,
playing his song. So that the idea of liner notes, I think it's when people talk about digital versus analog and how we're everything's in ones and zeros and downloads. It's like, yeah. But, if change your perspective a little bit, and maybe you don't have liner notes on an album, but chances are if you can go to their website and look at their lyrics, we're all good. Like, that's all you wanted, right? You just wanted to read the lyrics and have the music. So I'm trying to do that with my website, to where it's an extension of an album, basically.
That just gave me an idea. You were talking about how, or earlier, you didn't like being stuck in one genre, and you weren't sure how to do some of the songs without feeling like you were stuck in one genre. Has anybody done country-ish Americana music about IT? Like, instead of songs about your mom dying, your wife and your dog run off, it's more like you're trying to slide into somebody's DMs, but your Wi-Fi's down.
Yeah, Alan Jackson, www. Misery. I think it's www.misery. So yeah, they're absolutely.
I'm gonna have to check that out, because I think that would be amazing. Do like an entire concept album, but make it like country and about poor IT connections or something.
Yeah, well, you could easily and misconnections. I mean, it can get deep too.
Yeah.
You could. It's kind of like, I always cynically thought, that episode of South Park where Cartman starts playing Christian music.
Yes.
All he did was change, like, oh girl, it's oh Jesus. Yeah. Like, that would be cynically be so easy to do. if I was unethical, it was like it wouldn't be hard because I've had people come up to me and I'm not particularly religious, but I was raised up Irish Catholic and went to a Presbyterian school, and I live in the Bible Belt, so I've got a lot of respect for people's beliefs and their religions.
Yeah,
and like there's nothing to really joke about. So I was playing this show in Santa Barbara where there was a whole prayer group was there. They wanted to just come get some beers after whatever they were doing, and I happened to be playing there, and they were so moved that we did like a prayer circle, like in the back of the bar. It was just like, I know this is weird, but do you mind? We were so moved, but there was like that song "Pearls and Swine," and like a lot of them have some kind of like religious overtones to them. Right. The Mission Field, they were just like, you know what you're singing, right? And I was like, yeah, I know what I'm like. It's not lost on me that a lot of these are kind of. I don't think they're overtly Christian, but they do have some kind of religious overtones to them. A lot of them are bigger subjects. They can be kind of existential and like, what does it mean to be here? What does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be bad? Is there a good? Is there a bad? That kind of like big philosophical stuff, and that happens more often than I would have expected.
Wow.
And it's really touching when that kind of thing happens. There's a guy in England. They came and we had a nice long kind of theological talk about that, about the song. Did I mean to do this? Was usually the first thing that comes up. It's like, did you mean to do this, or was this an accident? I was like, well, a little of both. Yeah. Is it everything? It's an accident that you heard it and like it. It was not an accident that I wrote the damn thing.
Yeah. Well, I've really been enjoying the new album Cordelia Elsewhere, and it's. Like we mentioned before, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel with it. The sounds are really familiar. Do you use any? I know you showed me your nice new guitar. Do you use any vintage instruments to get the sounds that you want? The sounds that are kind of familiar to people.
Not specifically. I mean, the amp I use isn't that old, and it's made in North Carolina, but it's kind of boutiquey. It's a nice one. It's built like they were building them 40 years ago. So okay. It's using that kind of same technology. The guitars aren't particularly vintage. Nothing on this was this time. It would never be on purpose to use vintage stuff. It's just that a lot of that stuff just sounds more interesting to my ears. Like I've got an old early 60s Silvertone amp, tiny little thing that doesn't work well live. Is small, but in a recording studio, it sounds massive. But it's about this big, but you just crank it up and you can't tell. It's like when you're listening to headphones. I remember that was a revelation when the band Urge Overkill.
Oh yeah,
I love that band. And it was a revelation that how they got some of those giant guitar sounds on saturation was using tiny little amps. Of course, because it doesn't matter. They don't have to be big in the studio.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, why didn't I? and then sure enough, it's like they weren't, of course, the first to think about that. Jimmy Page was using tiny little amps. They've always been using tiny little amps. This is what you do. It's like I said, I'm not an engineer.
Well, you got any weird stories? Anything odd happen while recording any of the music? I'll tell you an example. I've used this example a lot on this show, but one of my favorite bands is Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. And I was lucky enough to have Leah and Peter on a few months ago.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, yeah. It's an amazing story. Leah's story about having to have brain surgery is amazing. She talks about it. Oh, yeah. She was out for about a year recovering. She talks about it all on the show, so you should go and listen. But but Peter was telling some of the they like to get a lot of weird sounds, and he was telling me about on the new album that they just came out with a few months ago, Wrong Creatures. On one song, he wanted to get the reverb to sound on his voice. He had wanted a particular way. So what he did was he stuck his head in a piano and started singing with his head in the piano. And he got the reverb sound he wanted. And then later,
good idea.
Well, that later he's really disappointed because later the engineers just told him, well, yeah, we got a setting for that. We could have just dialed you in. You didn't have to stick your head in a piano and sing the entire song that way.
Right. But, there's a lot to be said for doing that just to kind of, I don't know, you start getting pretty close to religion at that point when there's a lot to be said for the process and how are you wanting, how do you want this story to read?
Mm-hmm.
You want it to read, you stuck your head in the piano and got this, or you want it to read that there's a plug-in that did the same thing.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So it's like if it's, I mean, usually it's a matter of necessity, but it's like I could see doing it's like, yeah, I'm still going to stick my head in the piano.
Yeah,
better story. It's just a better story.
Have you gone down any rabbit hole like that trying to get a particular sound or anything?
In general, I have on this one. The weirdest thing about this one is how easy it was to make.
Oh, really?
On other records, it seems like it's nothing but rabbit holes. This one was so straightforward that I didn't really feel the need to really do much more than just what the song kind of asked to do. The hardest one being Cordelia, because I just really liked the song and thought it sounded just fine on acoustic guitar, or it sounds really good as a piano song. And then a friend of mine was just like, fuck it, that song's a diva. You just throw everything at it. It's like, you're right. So it's not stuff. So it's got piano and organ, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and these big breaks. It's like, you're right.
I love that song
because I tend to I tend to undersell stuff or want to, but then I'll go into these rabbit holes. That I've got a few songs like on the Mission Field, Never Tends to Forget. That could be 3 songs. As far
yeah.
But I mean, I can't imagine it any other way now that it's like I've done it a million times. But I really could. I could have taken that apart and made 2 or 3 songs out of that. So for this, unfortunately, there's no really good stories about going down. The whole thing has been a roll of the dice. For one, Kickstarter asking other people to give. Hiring Mitch Easter, who worked with REM and was in Let's Active, to do that was a roll of the dice. In that, I was like, well, fuck, I can mix a record for free,
Yeah.
But I don't have his ears, I don't have his studio, I don't have his experience, and that was the roll of the dice. And the whole thing was just it's to me. I hope I'm not being unhumble, but it's a strong group of songs, and I wanted them to be put in as favorable light as possible. So like, okay, I hope these are as good as I think they are.
I love Cordelia.
It all works out, So
well, Cordelia, like you just mentioned, it's one of my favorites on the album. I mean, your songwriting, the lyrics are about as straightforward as the music. I mean, the line, I hate what they did to my town, so I moved to another town. That's so simple, but it's
more fundamental than that.
Exactly. And I know everybody that I know of has done that.
Or tried to. My only qualms with that, and let's hang out a little bit and you'll know I'm a brooder about things. Well, not everybody can afford to move. That was written from a point of semi-privilege. I mean, I don't have a lot of money, but I could move if I really needed to, and do all the fucking time. So there's that kind of just like questioning. Just like, do I put this out? And that's just me taking shit too seriously, really.
Well, I like the vocals. I mean, this may sound weird, but vocally, when I'm listening to it, I kind of hear kind of like a cross between like a Stevie Ray Vaughan and Randy Newman in your voice. And
that's interesting, yeah.
And I like the songwriting is as simple as some of the best Randy Newman songs. So it's really fantastic to me because everything's straight and to the point, especially on the new album.
I wonder if that's interesting. I wonder if that goes in with how the weird thing is that nothing weird about this has happened. Like I've said this before, I'm still waiting, and I hope I'm not jinxing myself. I'm waiting for the other boot to drop because everything has been so kind of smooth and worked so easily, even, which is funny because it was not an easy birth, these songs. They were, I had a lot of the music kind of kicking around as I do now. I've got songs that won't come out for years just because let them simmer. Yeah. But this one had a lot of music, but not a lot of focus, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then in our current social climate in the United States, kind of just it makes me nervous. It makes me, I feel like the ground has fundamentally shaken. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or leftward leaning or rightward leaning, there's no denying that the earth has moved a little bit. So I don't like getting into a lot of topical stuff or overtly political details, mainly because I don't feel like it ages well.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with really politics or trying to get somebody. It's just, for me, I'm always a fan first. And so it's like, well, I don't know if this is going to sit well in 5 years, if you're going to want to keep listening to it, unless I'm in a position to actively change something through music. It's just like, oh, if I would write this song, things would change over here. Just like they're going to listen to me.
Right.
I think they are. That's not my job. That's not what I signed up for. I signed to, it's more of a visceral thing. But it doesn't mean I don't have opinions, and that things don't influence me and shake me. I write about the things that are profound to me, and then since I'm not a particularly good storyteller, I think it's vague enough to where most people can identify with it. I rarely name names which is funny because this is called Cordelia. It's literally a person I know. So forget everything I just said. That's funny. Oh, you could probably just leave and go have dinner and I can finish this conversation. Let me clarify. And the funny thing is, Mary Jane from the Mission Field album is her best friend.
Oh man,
I just like their names. Yeah. Cordelia. Her name is Cordelia Elsewhere, and I was like, that's one. I've always wanted to use her name in a song.
That's a very southern name.
It is. She's from the Northwest.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm so wrong all night tonight.
Funny, but it is. That's probably why I'm joining. I was just like, oh, Cordelia Elsewhere. Yeah. Like, Ernie, please.
How's your mom or name?
Cordelia, shit.
Cordelia, how's your mom or name?
How's your mom or name?
Up to no good.
Me and Mary Jane are going up to the Piggly Wiggly.
Oh my gosh, I haven't been to a Piggly Wiggly since I left Alabama. Jeez.
It has not been that long ago for me. I was just in Alabama.
Yeah, I was way deep south. I was way deep south Alabama. My wife, born and raised in New Brockton, which is little off Fort Rucker, the gate.
Okay.
One of the western gates of Fort Rucker, and my kids were all born and raised. Well, not raised, but born in Dothan.
Yeah, I know where Dothan is.
Yeah, I lived west. I lived literally 6 miles off the gates of Fort Rucker, right out of Daleville. So
how was that?
Poor.
Yeah.
Poor, no work. That's why we ended up leaving and coming up to the D.C. area, because it's just I had a college degree and I couldn't get a job doing anything but selling insurance.
Yeah, I mean it sucks, but it's a no-brainer. It's just like, what are you gonna? Why would you stay?
Yeah, I mean, I moved down. My dad, my parents had gotten divorced, and my dad see ya, I'm leaving, and he always wanted to move down south. We lived in Virginia for years and years, and then he was like, he's divorced. He's getting the hell out of New Jersey, because we lived in New Jersey at the time, and he's like, fuck this place. Mm-hmm. Took off, and a year later, I moved down, and like 6 months after that, my brother attended University of Alabama, and I was Roll Tide. And I was there for 9 years, something like that. And
That's
met my
long
wife.
enough.
Yeah, met my wife. Got married, had 3 kids, then skipped town, and we all came up to Virginia.
There you go. It's beautiful up there, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. We're in Winchester, so we got the Blue Ridge Mountains, and we're far enough out of D.C. where it doesn't affect us too much, but we can still get there fairly easily. So
I love it up there. I'm going to be playing in. I'll be playing in Baltimore on May 17th.
Oh man, if you,
A dive bar called Mums.
May 17th. All right, I'll be there.
We can talk later about that.
Yeah. if you seriously, if you get the chance, you should go through Winchester to get to Baltimore. It's a little bit of a swing, but Winchester.
I think I've been through Winchester. My stepdad's from Orange, Virginia.
Okay.
And I used to. One of my best friends in college lived in. Is it Bluemont?
Yeah, Bluemont. Yeah.
Yeah, but we would take the train and go and we'd take the train into D.C. We drive up there on weekends and hang out.
Bluemont is like 15 minutes east of Winchester.
Okay, yeah, it's beautiful out there. It's weird.
Yeah,
all the weird shit that goes on up there.
Well, yeah, Bluemont's where Mount Weather is. That's where they do all
exactly, Mount Weather.
That's where they do all the weird government stuff there.
Yeah. There was some guy when we were going up there. There's some guy that would put on an ape suit and run across the interstate. But he'd only do it like twice a year.
I have not heard of this.
That's enough to where everybody was always kind of on the lookout for it, but you never, just enough to be like a myth.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Isn't that hilarious?
That is awesome.
Like Oliver was around there and stuff.
Oh,
wow.
Morgan,
Incredible.
I've kept you for a whole hell of a lot of time. Thank you so much for coming on.
My wife is talking to my little son Leon right now. There.
Oh man.
She just brought me a glass of champagne.
Oh. Here we go. So I'll usually have a drink during the show, a beer or a scotch or but we're running late, so I got Bojangles.
It's bow time.
It's bow time. Yes. It's a tea. I got some chicken down at my feet here that I haven't even touched yet because I don't know. I tried eating it. It's a bowl of chicken and rice, and it's just it weighs like 8 pounds. It's I don't know what the hell's going on with it. It's ridiculous. I don't know if I can eat it.
Like one of those KFC things.
Oh yeah, it's.
I brought the guy who is behind the Deer Lodge Records in Portland. He's a really good friend of mine. He put out this vinyl single I did, and I didn't really pay for any of it to happen. So yeah,
Nice.
I gave him a plane ticket to Western North Carolina, and he's just like, we saw a lot of things, but basically it's bow time all the time. Sent him like a Bojangles hat and like a racing team shirt and stuff. He's all about the Bojangles now. It's like, man, you got Popeyes across the street. Why are you Bojangles? He's like, man, it's bow time. Fair enough.
It's great because you go through the drive-thru and they don't say, can I take your order? It's bow time.
It's bow time.
Okay.
Like, oh shit!
Yep.
Like,
shit, it's on.
Yeah, buckle your seatbelts and unbuckle your own belt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna get like 3 meals out of this rice bowl because it's just. I mean, I could lift weights with it. It's. All right, so this is the size of it, but it weighs like 8 pounds.
Holy shit! Like one of those KFC.
Yeah. And they gave me this little like half weird spork. I can't get anything out of this. I can't hit. Everything falls out of it, and
you'll probably break it off at the end trying to eat it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So where can people find you on social media? How can they order the album?
You can find Drunken Prayer in all the normal places. I guess the preferred would be iTunes, and you can go to the website and order this. I'm doing this record totally DIY. So go into my website, you order a record, it'll come from me.
Nice.
Nice. Then iTunes, Spotify, the Instagram is just drunken _ prayer, and Twitter, the normal things. It's not hard to find. for buying a vinyl record, you would have to go through the website right now. And for now, we still have orange vinyl, which is pretty sharp.
Oh, nice.
We also have the classic black too, and now in round. But then there's also a Bandcamp set up, and I make it pretty easy for people to listen and buy stuff. Especially since I'm doing it all myself, there's not one really preferred way. And to buy stuff, my website's as good as any.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so. Check the album out. It's fantastic. I love it. I've been listening to it for days now, and I love it. The first couple of tracks just really hooked me, and I literally, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I have literally been humming the opening words to Cordelia for 3 days now.
Wow.
It's seriously.
That's amazing.
I hate what they did to my town, so I moved to another town. That's been going through my head literally for days. So
I'm glad it works.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, if you want to read the lyrics, they're on the web.
Definitely will. Morgan, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you spending so much time with me tonight. I've had a blast. I've heard some fantastic stories.
It's been a pleasure. I hope we get to share a beer or something face to face sometime soon.
We'll definitely make it happen.
Cheers.
Thanks. And
I hate what they did to my town, so I moved to another town. I hate what they did to my town, so I moved to another town. I thought the change would